beings are interesting. They can be incredibly fragile creatures, and yet, at times, incredibly strong. I suppose you could say it all depends on the frame of reference, depends on what we're talking about, and it depends on the individual and what time the individual is in their life. I think when I say it right now, I'm thinking specifically of their will to live, their will to fight, their will to power. I think even in myself, I have seen such different states of being, such different levels of that will to power. In my own life, to span a mere 30 years, yet I've seen it at perhaps what was its height, where I would do anything to live. I would do anything to see another day. And I wanted to be all that I could be. And I also saw it dip way down. To the point where I just went through each day to day, without much hope. Empty. Just kind of clinging on. Just going on without any sort of plan or hope or dream. Half the time not really wanting to be here and thinking it might not be so bad if I just died. Crazy, huh? And I think, unfortunately, that was probably not the worst battle I'll ever face. There may be times, trying and challenging times, my will may dip even lower than this. However, that also may not be. It may be that I develop into the kind of person that never has their will dip that low. And, furthermore, I believe in righteous vigor that my best days are not behind me. My strongest will lies ahead. My strongest self, I can see him in the distance. So, why am I talking about all of this as I drive home at night? Well, I'm not even exactly sure, but there's some things on my mind, I guess. And the main thing on my mind is just how bad I was doing at a certain point, and just how much life can change. You can change. Your whole outlook on life can change radically and dramatically, even in the course of a day sometimes, but especially in the course of weeks and months. I really had a very constricted and narrow view of the world, especially when I was so depressed. I really felt that there was no way out of the hell that I was in. That other people just didn't get it, and I had made my bed in hell. There was nothing I could do that would allow me to get away from it, that would allow me to see things differently. There were just no options. And the thing is, when you're in that state, you cannot see the options. They're either grayed out and not available to you, or they're just invisible. You literally cannot see them, and that is the problem with true severe depression, is that people really, including myself, really cannot see the validity of other options. It's not that they can't technically understand that that would be a way out, it's that they can't fathom actually being able to take it, or able to live with themselves if they did take this other path. They feel so confined and constricted in their experience of life and their perception of the world, and if they can't get out of that, restriction. They can't understand that they could live a far happier life than they do now. They can't understand that they could one day not even care about any of the issues or maybe even some of the people in their life at present. They can't see it. And I am no different. I'm a human being, and I, at times, really couldn't see very far in front of me. But through prayer and through perseverance, I came to a different place. I came here. Yes. These past few months have been some of the happiest of my life. I would say, starting this summer, even though I had off and on panic, and continuing. I mean, these past few months have really been something great. They've beaten out much of the rest of this year and last year, I'll give it that. I have felt happiness I didn't know possible. I have felt a cessation of worry and tension and chronic rumination. I feel a degree of freedom from, which we call liberty, a freedom from oppression, from my own internal narrative that I haven't felt in a long time. And so yes, I'm feeling pretty good, pretty grand, and I would love nothing more than to stay here. But I wouldn't just love it, I will it. I want to stay here. I'm going to stay here, but not stay right here. I'm going to climb higher. I'm going to commit to the idea of Excelsior, and not be afraid of happiness. Not be afraid to advance my life forward as I see fit. Instead, to aspire beyond, to ascend ever higher. Excelsior. That's my goal. It's my new outlook on life. To not punish myself for my desire to be happy and want to live a good life, and instead to embrace it. That's the plan. It's really something being here. Driving the same streets, in the same car, hanging out with the same people, going back to the same house, even continuing on with the same problems, and yet feeling entirely different. I no longer feel this oppressive weight on my shoulders. I no longer feel that I am somehow destined to tragedy. I no longer feel ashamed of my very being, of my very self. I no longer think that for me to be, that must be a bad thing. I don't think those things anymore, and I don't feel them either. And so, while I'm doing many of the same things, the way that I'm doing them and the way that I feel is different. It's just lightly different. And that light difference is more than enough to make me want to be here, want to keep going, and to want to engage in the battle of life, want to engage in the story of life, and to sing its song, feel its value, feel its magic once again. And I know that we could boil this all down to different chemicals in the brain or something, which I'm sure is what's going on to a degree, but as a felt experience, what it feels like is that I prayed, and my prayers were answered. What it feels like to me is that this life is meant to have some sort of purpose behind it. That it exists for some sort of reason, that it matters, that there is a story, and that I'm not a crazy person for wanting that to be the case. What it feels like is that I am beginning to find myself, that I am beginning to find out on a deeper level who I am, and that I do this through prayer, and through effort, and through patience, through the act of believing, through the act of surrendering, to which I know not. For I know not that whom I call God. I merely pray, I merely feel it, I just feel that I am praying to something, someone, entity, spirit. But it is not a trifling thing to pray. I don't feel that it's silly. I really feel deep down that it matters when I pray, and I can't explain that. I know that's pseudoscience, I know that's silly talk, but I'm so damn glad that I'm able to pray. And I'm so amazingly glad that I have that option at my disposal, because I could envision another reality in which my overthinking overtook me so far that I did not have access to that faculty, and that I was unable to pray. And I don't know what would happen. I may be confused about what prayer is. I try to use it rather sparingly, and maybe that's not the right approach. Maybe it's best to use it more often. Maybe that's how I will connect with my deepest self and the universe. But I'm just so glad I was able to do that. I'm glad that I was able to make a choice outside of the words in my head, outside of voiced thoughts or pseudo-logic. I'm glad that there was something in me, truly human, that really wanted to continue on living. And not just living, but thriving, truly living. I'm glad there was this force in me that compelled me to reach out and pray, even though I didn't understand what I was praying for. Because I was in that constricted place. I was in that tunnel vision where I felt like, where I thought, I guess, that prayer didn't matter, and that it wasn't helpful, and that it wasn't useful, and it wasn't real, and that everything was bad, and that there was no way out, and that I was just in this hell, and I had to stay there. It's absurd, because the hell I was in was just as irrational, if not far more so, than the little slice of heaven I find myself in now. It's just odd, isn't it? Odd that our perceptions can change so much. And that strangers, and even people who are mild friends of mine that don't know me that well, none of those people can tell the difference between whether I'm having a good day or not. Even people close to me often have a very hard time knowing what I might be feeling in the moment. It all exists within me. It's all very deeply my own perception. And yet, my perception is the only perception that I have. It is a gift to treasure and cherish and to be very careful with. It is something that one must look after like a garden. One's perception. Anyway, I've made it home now. This recording was fun. I enjoyed talking about prayer. I even enjoyed talking about depression and the place that that I was in not that long ago. When you're in that place, it really feels like there's something holding you there. But part of you almost wants to stay there. It feels irrational and morally happy to let go. Just be okay. Just be all right. It feels like there's something wrong with it. It feels like to do so is some sort of sin. But once you're free, and perhaps only, do you realize that that's just a point of view, and a point of view that you really don't want to be subscribed to. It is a point of view that goes against you, all of your interests, that goes against your interest to keep on living, primarily. Hopefully this makes sense if I have decided to share this, or maybe I will just do it. So. But there's no magic cure I can offer myself in the future to get out of that bucket. There is no secret sauce. There's no string of words or letters to be uttered. There's nothing that can be understood that can get you out of it. There's no amount of knowledge that can free you from that state. It can be helpful if it's used in the right way. But the only thing that will really free you from that state is when your inner power, your inner will to live, overcomes the forces that are trying to drive you. There is no justification for this act. There's no right way to do it. There's no polite way of saying, I'm going to live. It's one of the things that you can't really be nice about. When there are demons trying to take your life, even if they're inside you, even if they're thoughts, you can't say, please don't, please let me live, please let me go. There are times in life where no, please does not work. There are times in life where you must take up the sword and do battle. There are battles worth fighting. I think that part of the reason that I struggle to assert myself over myself, and the reason that this day I sometimes struggle with personal confidence, is that somewhere along the line I learned that it was wrong to have aggression, that taking up the sword is wrong, bad, never do. That violence only begets violence. That's it. Well, it may be wrong in some sense. But I can't think of anything more wrong than wanting and wanting. I seriously would not wish that upon anybody. There are people in this world, like Hitler, for example. If I had the opportunity and it would do something good, I would kill them, yes. But I would never wish for them to hate themselves so much that they would want to die. I don't know why, I just can't fathom wishing that upon anyone. Yet I've experienced it myself. Maybe I even wished it upon myself. A bit of a somber note, but it's important here to understand that we may not be able to create harmony. We may not be able to stop committing violence against one another or against the environment or against animals or plants even, whatever it is. Life is a battleground. That's what Jung said. And I think that I agree with it. And that it would be better to have a lighthearted attitude toward things. It would be better to say, let's not take this quite so seriously. I think it's important to take one's will to live seriously, but not to burden oneself with their mistakes, not to feel so greatly that everything that one has done is wrong or just for existing, for being, for taking up space, oxygen, or wanting to have things. There's too much self-hatred in me, and I feel that there is too much self-hatred in others as well. I think we've all been fooled. I think we've all been fooled into thinking that there's something moral about hating yourself. That if you hate yourself, that in some way that's a good thing. That if you were like a tree, that if you retracted your roots, dared not to grow as not disturb the sidewalk, not overshadow other plants, that is righteous. And I believe that is a trick. I believe it is a trick of words and a trick of the mind that is played upon us in order to get us by whatever we may have wanted at some time. And then eventually that trick can spiral out of control within us as we began to become our own captains, our own worst enemies. And eventually we began hating ourselves. And thinking that maybe it would be a good thing if one here. Well, there's nothing noble in that. And there's nothing noble in trying to make oneself small so that other people feel big. There may be very little in this world that is truly noble, but I think we should not speak in terms of nobility. I think we should not speak in terms of right. Instead, all I will say is that deep inside us, deeper and greater than the will to perform, or even the will to be good, deep inside each one of us is a burning, radiant will to life, a will to live. And that if we're being honest with ourselves, that is the will of our heart. That is the voice. And we know it. We know that that's the truth. And how did I come to that conclusion? By praying. You're right. It's silly. You can laugh. It's not logical. I didn't work it out. I didn't make a calculated pro-con list about what's right and what's wrong. I can't justify it at all. There's nothing I can do to justify why I chose that voice, why I chose my own will to power and to life over some other option, whether that be the will to death, or trying to be a good person in a specific scenario or a specific other person's eyes. Why I chose myself above the good or good. Why I forgave myself and gave myself the freedom to stop obsessing about myself. It's all because I prayed. And I can't really explain it. I can't explain why I wanted to pray. I could pretend to explain it. I could surmise. The past me would not even like the current me because I don't have any reasons to give him for anything. I wouldn't be able to justify my decision to do so. But that's the thing. That's the key to all of this. That is the key to living and overpowering forces that want to destroy me. Is that I need justification. I cannot give justification. And I refused. I really did not understand this before, especially when I was young. There was a scene in the third Matrix where Smith has Neo on his coffin at the lung. And Agent Smith says, "Why, Mr. Adams? Why? Why do you persist?" And he talks about how there's no justification for mankind's existence. That it's flawed, disgusting, corrupt. That there's no ideas worth fighting for either. Honor, justice, faith, truth, love, all of those ideas. And in some sense, Agent Smith is right. None of those things are enough of a thing. And Neo gets up. He replies to Smith. He says, in a way that only Keanu could say. He says, "He was untrue." And to me, at the time I watched it, I thought that was But now that I'm where I am in life, that I've had the experiences that I've had, in a very strange way, I understand why that is the only really valid response. In some sense, we make a choice. We're not logically figuring it out. We're not creating this path of justification. When we really make a choice, as Alan Watts would say, we hesitate until the final moment, and then we do what we were already going to do. But what I would say is, in that moment where we do what we were going to do, or whatever, there is a feeling, and it does feel at times like we're actually making a choice. Not all the time. There's a few key moments where it feels as if we are willing our attention, willing our mind to direction. And it's not spoken. It's not rationalized. It's not figured out. It comes up from within us. It almost travels through us. And comes out in the world. When we do this kind of choice, it's cool. Because you can do it even when you disagree with it in principle. Even when you think, I can't do this, I shouldn't do this. Even when your chronic, impulsive, intrusive thoughts are telling you that you can't make real choices, you can't do anything to help yourself, blah, 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 and you're bad. And we'll just keep going. A part of you can choose. A part of you that's not your thoughts. A part of you that's not even language. A part of you can choose something else. And it's a mystery, it's mysterious, and that makes it beautiful and wonderful. And I'm just so glad that it happened. I'm glad that I was able to make a choice for myself, for life. So anyway, thank you for listening to this ridiculously long half-an-hour talk about heavy-ass subjects. But I think that it's really important, and that this may be really important for me in the future to listen to again, because I am rather predisposed to sorrow and overthinking and general negative affect, as are others that I know. And I think that our present day modern lives have lost touch with a sense of feeling and of spirituality. I hardly know what I feel anymore. It doesn't matter, it's just a feeling. Spirituality. We really need those things. Because if we don't have them, they're still there, but in negative forms. We still have weird, negative, irrational thought spirals about everything. You know, the desire to not be here anymore and to surrender and to give up on life is just as irrational as the desire to keep on living and that life is great. It doesn't have any more validity to it. But something about the modern narrative seems to lend more credence to that. It seems to say that the pessimistic outlook is somehow more correct. And then the forces that I talked about are at work in us. The same irrational, weird, mystical sort of forces are in us, propelling us to do things that are not good for us. And so, in a Jungian sense, we put the feeling self in the shadow now. We even put our spirituality, even God in some sense, into the shadow. That's not really where you want God. You want God, you want spirituality, you want feeling to be front and center, at least as much as you can. That's what life is. Life is feeling, and we shouldn't deny it quite so much. So anyway, I'm going to continue working on that. But I've enjoyed making this recording. For some reason, I just feel that it has a lot of value. I feel that I was able to say relatively clearly that which was intended. So, carpe diem. Seize the day, and seize your life. It is what you really want, deep down. Find your will to power. Find the horse of your will. Hop on and ride straight ahead. Don't ever look